Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another episode of Connect with the Quran, and you're here with Najman Sari. Today we're going to go over Surah Nahl in an overview. It's a long surah, so we'll see how far we get. And inshallah, we'll begin after we've listened to a bit of the recording of the beginning of the surah. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون ينزل الملائكة بالروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده أن أنذروا أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاتقون خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق تعالى عما يشركون خلق الإنسان من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين
والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So this is a surah Nahl which follows on from surah Hijr, and it's sort of these are the middle Makki surahs now. Makki towards a late. It's still in Makkah, so oppression has increased. There has become not only before it was verbal abuse, now it's also physical abuse, and so the message is that overriding. I'm just going over it. It's beginning. The warning is getting severe from Allah, and the first recipients of that are the Quraysh, because they're the ones who've been giving grief to the Muslims, and and it's dispersed with blessings, endless blessing, warning the Quraysh of all these blessings that you get, and for the Muslims also that still have sabr, and we'll get into that. But it started beautifully that that the command of your Lord has come, and He is. I love that phrase, "Amma yushrikun," and He is Subhanahu wa Taala Amma yushrikun. We often use that when we say that glory be to Him. He is far above anything they are ascribing to Him. So coming back to the concept of Tawheed, that is what is being reiterated, and it's for the reason of Tawheed that the Quraysh are getting so aggressive. Because they believe in intercessions and the gods, and it's all about status quo and losing their position. That's why. So this is all glibly said, in a nutshell said. All I'm trying to create here with you at the Connect with the Quran is find a love for it, because it's personal to us. When we connect with it personally, we'll go and start looking for the ayahs that we want to. I heard that, where was it? And beautifully what it says here, it's talking about the angels that I sent them, so that it's me alone that you worship. And so the idea of angels, they're sent for a serious mission, either to send down a message and to remind you to the prophets, and it's also showing, frequently it shows, whenever it's talking about one prophet, the lineage is all the same. So our Abrahamic tradition, or the Judeo-Christian tradition, they stop it at themselves, but we want to include that it's the Tawhidi tradition in the form of, from the books, comes from the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. It's all one. The Jews, of course, want to cut it off before Isa alayhi salam. The Christians want to cut it off after him. But it's all the same, and the common denominator then go back to Abraham. So anyway, that was just a digression about talking about angels, because even in Surah Hijr we said, they say, why doesn't an angel come down? If the angels do, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's in Surah Hijr, but Allah forgive me if I'm not. And Allah says that, if He sends down angels, then it's usually know that it's for, because a punishment is brought down to you. Anyway, going back onto ayah 3, it goes on to say that he's created it all for a just end, not for fun, not for just entertainment. If it had been that, he could have done it on something else. It didn't have to be. And again, it's coming back. Wal ard bil haq, with the truth, and then it's with the ala amma, high above is he, amma yushrikun, to whatever they ascribe on him. So one carries the lesson further in 3. In 4, the fact that what he is being created for and how he becomes an open disputer. Immediately, Allah sort of kind of puts us in our place. What is your origin? What is your came from a nutfa? That's what you came from. And the same concept is taken up in Surah Yasin also in 37, when it says that, here, look at this man, the amazement. And like we do that sometimes with children, right now they were toddlers and they're getting bigger and now they're going. And then suddenly they're arguing with you and they're being really rude and obnoxious, maybe more in the teenage years, maybe when they're in university and they think they've got some power, some financial independence and so on. And when they're rude to you, especially the first time, you're like, what happened here? So that's just a silly simile for me to give, because like it is subhanahu wa ta'ala amma yushrikun. He's so far above. I mean, these misals, Allah forgive me, it's not meant to put a parallel or anything, but it's to show that how ridiculous it is. That's essentially what it's trying to show us. That where do you come from? And there you sit and argue. Your whole brain, just get a clot in your brain and you're conked out for your thinking. And here you're still arguing about Allah. Is there Allah? What about this? What about this? So the beauty of the Quran is, in a nutshell, it encapsulates the key argument and it moves on. It's us who just belabor the point and who just go on and on like I am now. So forgive me, I'll just move on. But ayah from 4 onwards to about 17, it's highlighting these beautiful blessings that Allah has given to us. And I'm just going to go on to 5 and 6, where it says about the cattle that he made, how beautiful it is. And yes, the primary audience was for the Quraysh and so for maybe the agriculture people of the Medina, eventually to Medina. But it's like we are familiar with this thing of grazing your animals and how much benefit you get from your animals. So take it. But if you want to, especially if you're telling a younger person, he said, well, I can't remember, I've never been to the zoo, to the farm or something. So this is another reason for, if you're going, traveling, go to farms, go and be in touch with nature. See what Allah does. And subhanAllah, the next ayahs are, well, let me just get into 5. The beauty of 5 and 6 is that you love them, or what is mentioned first in ayah 6 is that you get so much joy, so much satisfaction when you're bringing them home in the evening. You fed them, everything went well, you didn't lose a cow, you didn't lose a sheep. And when you are herding them back home, it's a beautiful feeling of after a whole day's hard work. And then it goes on to say, and the same as when you, so it's, there's a sense of pride when you drive them back home, and only when you're taking them out in the morning as well. But look at the beauty when you say, well, isn't the sequence you take them out and then you bring them home? So start with that. And this is what I love about the Quran, that it brings you, the joy you get when you're bringing them home is greater than when the joy of you taking them out. And then link it back to us. Whenever you have a project, you have something, a presentation at work, you have a great PowerPoint you have to present or something. So yes, you're excited and you're in a position to have to show something and so on. But it's when it's all done and dusted and when you know you've done a decent job, that joy of coming after the event, even if you have to do post-mortem and you have to do feedbacks or whatever they call it, uh, that is greater than when you are still nervous, ready to present and having to do that. So I love that. How small, reading it glibly, 6, it's a big deal. But those are the beauties. So here I just started, and it goes on to talk about the horses, the dogs, the mules, and so on, and the sky, the rain, and everything, and the produce, the olives, the grapes, everything in ayah 11, the day and the night, and we've done that frequently, of the merit of the day and the night and the stars, and the fact that they offer you a way of guidance. So all that, and it talks about the fish, the sea, and the fish you get from there, and even you extract attract your pearls and jewels and all of those things, and the mountains. So this is all up to 17, 18. I do hope to get into a bit further also, but this first passage pretty much is encapsulating the favors, and then it will pick up on the favors again. That's when the B will come, and so on. But we'll wait for that. And just now up to 19, and Allah does know what you conceal and what you reveal. That's also like what goes on inside you, and it's a favor that he knows, but he hasn't uncovered you and exposed you, and not every wart and thing is available outside to be seen. So there, I'll just take a pause and come back just after a short break, and we'll take it a bit further. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. And we're just going through Surah Nahl. In a nutshell, Allah forgive me if I may miss out anything important, but we're really just, I'm sharing with you those elements which I found profound and significant, or which I'm in a position to be able to articulate it in a way that I can share it properly. And so we'll move on with that. But the prime purpose of linking it with the idea of Tawheed and Risala is that life is not made without a purpose. There is a purpose, there's a rhyme and reason, and so you're warned of the akhirah, of what's going to happen if you don't take heed, and you're going to bear the consequences of those you led astray. So on 19 we stopped about that Allah knows what you hide and what you give out, and then on 25 you're told that it's your attitude against the Quran, against acceptance of it, that is going to cause you grief. And not only is it going to cause you grief, it's going to cause you grief to bear the burden of all the ones you led astray to. And further on, in many places we have had the conversation between the followers in kufr and the leaders, and they'll be saying, Allah, give them double the punishment because they led us astray. And these guys will say, well, you guys followed us, or who told you, or whatever, you're equally to blame because you listened to us. So that's that. So this has been recapitulated in 25, when let them bear the burden on the day of judgment, not only of their own soul, but of the burdens who without knowledge they misled. So take-home message for us, be careful. I know there was a time when, you're at school or university and you need to have all the answers. And when somebody asks whether you know it or not, but we just have this attitude of, I don't know, complacency, confidence, arrogance, that you just sort of feel you're in a position to be able to give an answer. Oh, I think it's because of this. Why do they put seatbelts in the car? You have the answer. Why do they do this? That's the answer. Why do you do this? Anything on any topic, invariably. And I remember, my husband especially rolls his eyes. He said, stick to your topic. Don't want to open your mouth in everything else. So this is somebody telling us, and if we're smart, we'll take heed. But let us not be in a position of telling, but we do roll our eyes at people. Electricity or electronics is not your field, and yet you want to have your tuppence say in that too. So be careful that we carry the responsibility of misleading others too. So, and I'm just going to digress even further, but I think I've told you that story about, somebody always used to break the drumsticks of the roast when she puts it in the oven. So then she said, I don't know why I do it. Her daughter asked her, she said, I'll ask my mother. And I said, I don't know. I saw my mother do it, so I did it. Somehow they get hold of the grandma and they asked, well, why did you do that? And she said, well, I did it because my oven was too small, so I had to break off the drumsticks in order for it to fit. So essentially, and we sometimes take it on. So be careful of what you are passing on to people. Ensure that you're. So that's one drive home message of, not be caught in the lost, because there is a consequence to pay for all of that. And to the Muslims, what's being told in the surah is have patience. Now you're not only suffering through verbal abuse, it's becoming more intense. It's also getting into physical abuse, and it's giving them comfort that just hang in there for a bit, just hang in there. And and then Allah goes on to say that, look, Allah is with the sabiri. If it's by Allah's mercy, then you're able to withstand. And elsewhere, Allah often says, I don't burden you with more than you can bear. So whatever crisis we go through, individually, family, office, or something, God forbid, retrenched, God forbid, something else through COVID, something else, just know, it's, look, when you're in the position we all are, it's easy to come here and just say something, but when something hits home to me, I go ballistic to what happened, and we lose the plot. And where's my tawakkul then? That's what I need to watch out for. So while I'm here saying it, the hope is also that it will stay entrenched in me. The penny will drop a bit more, and maybe because Allah does say we're going to slip, so maybe the ability to recalibrate a bit sooner is there. So Muslims are told to have that patience, and they will be rewarded. Allah is with them, and that's where we're going with that ayah. I do want to take it on from 65 to 72. You have the examples of the bee, of the cow, of the milk that you get from the cow, the bee, what it gets, and we will take that further in our next episode. But I just want to overall give you, it talks about old age and risk. So these are all neema. While I'm walking, talking, taking care of myself, being able to do things, this is a blessing. And Allah warns us, there might be a time in Surah before, there might be a time when He either takes away your soul, or He sends you right back to how you started or before with a baby, when after knowing much, you know nothing. So just be grateful that my bones are working, no arthritis, no this, no that. And as things come, it's like, may they be a means of expiation for my sins. And because they say a thorn doesn't prick you, but that it expiates some of your sins. So these kind of constant awareness of what's going on now, in what situation am I now, rather than just projecting onto others or fixing others and not worrying about ourselves. I love the ayah. I think it comes late in I'm not quite sure where, but yes, it's in ayah 40 when it says kun fayakun, that all Allah has to do is say kun fayakun. So even for us in our days and these, like I'm just within my little sphere of world. I can give examples of that, work, home, this or that. Is that, but we can always pray of kun fayakun, of things turning around just like that. There are other beautiful passages, especially to do with relationships, and we can get into them eventually as and when they come. But it's like when it was Allafa bayna qulubihim in ayah Surah Anfal, of Allah puts the love in your hearts, and then we have the tasbihs and everything. So when you get these surahs, that anything we willed, all we'd said was kun fayakun, and soon after it's talking about the oppression and the people who are suffering. Know that this is only a transit. So if you notice for yourself, it's no point me going over one by one, because for many of us, we need to know also that in just listening to somebody talk about the Quran, it's really just a filler in our life. We're busy driving, we're busy cooking, or we're busy doing something, and it's like we have this feel good maybe that in listening something, we get some credit points. I pray we do. I pray I get some credit points. I pray you do. But the point is that until my only love here is connect with the Quran, go and for you to create your connection. Alhamdulillah, hopefully whatever I am saying resonates for you, is on the straight and narrow. It's not saying anything of deviation, anything extrapolation of whatever my mind tells me to say, and so on. So that's why we always start with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, so that if a waswas of shaitan comes, we come back on track. So these are all things that we need to be constantly aware of, whatever we're discussing here. This beautiful passage is on favors of Allah, whether it's the cow, the bee, the milk, the grazing of the animals, all that. Take it to yourself. If it's a SUV, if you've got a beautiful garden, a beautiful pool, if you've got your business flourishing, or if it isn't, or you're cranking some machinery, and that, subhanallah, that it works. Once upon a time we used to do it by hand. Now we just have to press a button and it's by machine. Look at all the communication that we do before now, whether it's by email. Should you have any question, I can say, please, if you like, you email me, you phone, or whatever. Before, when we used to hear something and we had a question about a program, it was like, how on earth do we get hold of them to find out? You write to the, to the main, I don't know, to the television authority or whatever. Can we know about the program? Can there be a repeat? Now everything is at the play of a hand. So if everything's at the play of a hand, while we say negativity is also in the palm of the hand to do anything by the moment, so too we can reach out for the good. I remember when initially we had those recording tapes that you heard, you could rewind, you can listen again. And then I remember thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool? You just press a button and it just repeats the same thing again and again. Subhanallah, we have all that. Even in Quran Tilawa, if you want to memorize something, you can get there and you can just replay the same ayah or the same group of ayahs again. So how much has technology not helped us? So when you're looking at these favors and they're just talking about the sky and the moon and you feel, okay, well, that's everything. And the other beautiful thing about favors is, of all these, whether it's electronics, whether it's anything, it's not only for the Muslims. When Ibrahim alayhi salam made the dua, give it to my good people, Allah said, no, blessings are for all. It's what they do with it, whether they're grateful or ungrateful, that's what matters. But that's where you take it. So use those opportunities, but aren't you grateful for your phone? Aren't you grateful for this? Aren't you grateful that you can know beforehand what the weather forecast says when you're packing up to travel? So inshallah, we'll get to the dawah point also, but then use whatever's around you to try and make a point. That's also the skill our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, that he used whatever's current on the ground to make a point rather than get all highfalutin and then you miss the plot. So I pray that some of that has been meaningful for dear listeners out there, and I pray that we all just are able to connect more with the Quran and find it that it resonates in our heart, and then our mouths are able to utter what's in our heart in full awness of Allah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. May that really resonate from the deepness of our heart. So with that, I'll draw to a close today, and inshallah we'll continue with it on our next episode. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.